Hey guys, it is a beautiful day outside. I am back, ready for a garden tour. For those of you who didn't hear, I spent most of last week in the hospital. But I'm not going to go into that right now. If you want to hear the story, I'll put that at the end of the garden tour. Seedlings are outside, getting used to being outside in the real sun, getting used to being jostled by the wind. But for right now, we've got a garden to go take a look at. I feel like a lot of the cool things tend to happen when you're gone. One of them is these mushrooms spraying up, and I was able to see like one or two of them just as they were on the overdone side and identify them as the wine caps that I had planted. So really good news is that they came up. Bad news is that I didn't get to eat them because I wasn't here. And the subsequent good news there is that they are getting established, they are fruiting, and they will fruit again. So it's not like I lost my one harvest. So I always start on this end with this big long trellis. Currently I have garlic underneath that trellis, and then right here at the front I have a couple of spinach babies. They are not growing super fast, but it's just now been consistently warm, so I think they'll start speeding up. Our 10-day forecast shows no frosts whatsoever. And our estimated last frost date is first or second week of April or so. So it's possible that there are no more frosts coming. Garlic is looking super healthy. Let's see how many we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 leaves on this. Pretty hefty leaves. This is kind of a larger variety of garlic. If your garlic isn't this big, don't worry too much about it. This is definitely on the big side for garlic. The variety that I grow is called Dixon Softneck. I got it from the Experimental Farm Network 2 years ago, and this stuff is stuff that I replanted from garlic that I grew in my garden last year. So that's garlic all the way down. This is onions all the way down, and then on the sides I had planted some turnips. Most of them didn't survive the freeze, and then farther back in these 2 rows is radishes and carrots. So taking a look at the turnip row, I don't actually see anything still alive in this area, but in the radish section, things look pretty good. Lots of healthy looking radish sprouts, even though they're not super well spaced. Oh, look, that's a carrot. That's a carrot. Are there any other carrots? I've seen other carrots, but they're so hard to... There we go. There's one. They're so hard to see with everything else. But the idea here is that the radishes will grow super fast and get pulled out, and then the carrots will be well spaced. I mean, that's in an ideal scenario where, a lot of my carrots actually sprout. But, I've got a few carrot sprouts. I'm kind of hopeful. We'll see what happens. Past the radishes, both sides up here to the end are potatoes. I have a couple of different types. One is this purple potato. These had come up before the freezes and then got completely knocked back. And as I thought, now that it's warm again, they are coming up again. So that's a really good sign. Oh, look, there's another one. Little baby potato coming up. And there's actually some coming up over here on this side. These are the ones that didn't come up the first time. Sarpomira. And there's another one you can see pushing through that hay. So all of that is really, really good news. Alright, so potatoes are here. And then this third row with the trellises has onions on one side, garlic on the other, on the outside, peas on the inside. Peas still look great. I've been trying to get them to actually grow up the trellis instead of flopping over now. You can see this one's putting on some new growth. all of that is really good news for the peas. But here in South Carolina, it goes from too cold to too hot really fast, in the spring at least. And so I am a little worried that the peas are not going to get enough time in that like in between temperatures to actually produce anything. We'll see though. We'll leave them there and we'll only pull them out if they start looking sick. I did not end up replanting peas in this area where I only got a couple to come up. These still look really dwarf, which they should not be. And I just didn't have time with everything going on with my health. And at this point, I mean, it was probably too late as well, but it's definitely too late now. Back behind the trellises here, I have 2 rows of fava beans with a bunch of weeds in between, and a little corner of onions that I densely planted with the intention of pulling for green onions. Fava beans looking absolutely lovely. I think they're growing really fast. I think they are like at least twice the size of what you saw them at last week. I definitely could have put more fava beans in this area. I just didn't have the seeds and I didn't have the time to wait on the seeds to come in. So I do have just kind of some empty space hanging out for now. On this last row is more onions and a few little flower sprouts. These, I'm pretty sure, are the poppies that I planted. They survived the frost beautifully. That's not a poppy. They survived the frost beautifully. And I'm really looking forward to seeing them grow up. I've never grown poppies before. Oh, this is interesting. I just noticed this onion is already trying to go to seed. It's barely been the beginning of spring. It's already there. That sometimes happens, even with starts. But maybe I can just mark this one in my head to pull for green onions later. It'll also still probably bulb up and make a big onion, but it will never be a storable onion because of the way that the flower stalk goes down into the bulb. It just disrupts everything that makes onions store for a while. And yeah, you can eat them. They're perfectly great to eat fresh, but just can't store them the way you could other onions. All my lettuces down here on the end are looking really great. I would say, I would wait maybe another week before I start really pulling baby greens off of these. This spinach that was having trouble with being eaten seems to have outgrown that. Same with this one. This random volunteer, I'm pretty sure sunflower, still living over here. Now these kale, these have been living but growing pretty slow, and I'm not entirely sure why the kale is so slow. I also want to note to you guys that I've intentionally planted most of my lettuce over here in the soon-to-be shade of this tree. Because it does get hot so fast here, the shade will actually help keep them a little cooler and prevent them from bolting quite as fast. The raised bed is looking pretty much the same. I say that every week. It doesn't change very fast. The sage, I guess, is greening up a little bit. I actually noticed it is trying to flower, which I've never seen sage flower, so that's going to be really cool to watch. My oregano, if it's coming back, it hasn't started yet. Cilantro, you can see how the leaves are getting thin up here. Instead of being fat cilantro leaves, they're thin and spindly. That is a sure sign, aside from the stalk coming up the middle, that it is going to seed. And I'm gonna let it. But it's just sad that I never really got any cilantro. Oh, look. The thyme is starting to flower. Look at those. Here at the end, I have this container. I had planted carrot seeds in it as yet another backup. And these are coming up just fine, which is really, I don't want to say surprising, but I am a little surprised because I didn't give them a whole lot of extra attention the way I do. But they're coming up and they look healthy. I've got a couple of lettuces in this raised bed as well. This kale struggling against whatever really wants to eat it. And a spinach and 2 lettuces here. This one might be trying to flower already, actually. If you look deep in the middle, it almost kind of looks like a flower bud. Honestly, wouldn't be that surprised with the way the heat is here. We also need to check in on the berry patch. I have uncovered the blueberries since chance of big frost is kind of gone for now. They do not look great here at the tips, but the leaves still look good. So I think they'll recover. I'm just not going to get whatever fruit was going to be on them before the frost. Strawberries, though, are coming very soon. You can see, if you start looking, so many little white flowers. They look so good. I haven't seen anything start really developing into a berry yet, but I can only imagine it. Oh, look. Hello, sir. Sorry to disturb you. Anyways, I can only imagine it'll be very soon, and I'll have some lovely strawberries. The blackberries have started budding out as well. These will open up into flowers before too long, which will then become fruit. It is so exciting. Ooh, I gotta show you guys though what happened with my rosemary. When I left, or when I went to the hospital, this looked fine. And then I came back and half this plant is just dead. It's like split straight down the middle, just dead. Which is really strange to me. I have like absolutely no idea what could have caused this. Because if it was temperature related, it would likely be on all of it. If it was, I don't know. I just don't know what would kill half a plant randomly. Like, I don't see anything dug around the base. Everything seems theoretically fine about it, except that half of it is dead. So normally I would end the tour here. Anybody who's just interested in gardening stuff, this is the end of the gardening content. But for those of you who've been following me, I know some of you have been worried because I did announce that last week when I was hospitalized because I wasn't getting the garden tour out on time. I am I try to be very on top of getting you guys a garden tour weekly so that you guys can depend on it. And if it's not going to happen, I try to let you guys know via a post on my page. But last Wednesday, I went into the ER with some kidney stone pain, fever, chills, body aches. I've had this happen before. I've had plenty of kidney stones, and I have had one get infected once, and it was really serious. So when I noticed the signs of infection, I went into the ER, and I'm really glad that I did, because they told me that there was a good chance that I could have gone septic if I hadn't, because any infection that makes its way into the bloodstream is like really, really, really bad. And since the kidneys connect directly into your bloodstream, having a kidney infection is a really easy way to go from simple infection all the way to sepsis. I'm not going to share all of the details of what went on, but I was in the hospital for about 4 days, and they got the infection under control, and I've got some follow-up appointments with doctors and everything. And currently I am doing okay. I hope to be producing content for you guys in a really normal way from here, but the thing that won't be normal is my energy levels are still kind of low from fighting off this massive infection. So while I will be still making content with garden tours being a priority, I might not get everything done that needs to get done. So I appreciate you guys bearing with me if I'm a little slower for the next few weeks. But on a positive note, none of my seedlings died while I was gone. Everything looks really healthy, and we're still on track to plant out the spring garden. And if you didn't see it, on Saturday, actually just after I got home from the hospital, I did do a live interview with Enoch Grahm on his show Let's Get Growing. I'll leave a link below to the show. I'm about midway through. Those of you who know Scott Head, he was also interviewed, so you might be interested in that. It was a really short interview, but it was still kind of crazy trying to fit that in between getting discharged from the hospital and you know, everything else that has to happen after you get discharged from the hospital. So you can see that interview down below if you want. Anyway, I appreciate you guys and your concern and your support, and I will almost definitely see you guys next week for another garden tour. But until then, happy gardening.